Good morning, algebra scholars. Today is Tuesday. We're going to work on some transformations. So I'm going to show you numbers 1 and 2 and have you do 3 and 4 on your own. I don't have a graphing calculator, but I am just going to use Desmos Online. But what I do plug into Desmos Online, you can also plug into your graphing calculator. So here I see f of x, which is the function of x, which also stands for y. So y equals 3x squared. And then the other function is g of x, which in this instance also stands for y. G of x is equal to 2x squared. This is asking me, okay, order the functions from narrowest graph to widest. So the narrower one needs to go first. I'm going to plug in 3x squared first. So I go to my Desmos. I'm going to say y equals 3x to the second power. That's my first one, and I look back. My second one is 2x to the second power. So I'm gonna go ahead, I press this little plus button. For you, you go to y2. I'm gonna say y is equal to 2x squared. The blue one is wider, or the one that had 2. The smaller a value is going to be wider. So smaller, smaller a, I was thinking about a. Smaller a is wider. Bigger a is narrower. Okay, so I go back to our worksheet and I see I graphed 3x first. That one is narrower. It told us to go from narrow to wide. So the first one, I should list it. F of x is equal to 3x squared. This is the narrower. It goes to the widest. G of x equals 2x squared. Now that you know that the smaller a is wider and the bigger a is narrower, you might be able to do this without your calculator. But if you still need to use your calculator, fine by me. This was number 1, narrowest to widest. I'm going to show you one more for number 2. So I'm going to go back into my Desmos. Oh, oops. Number 2 is 5x squared and negative 5x squared. So here I'm just going to change my 3 to a 5. You can do the same thing in your calculator. Here, negative 5. As we can see, the negative a value makes it reflect over the x-axis. Negative a reflects over x-axis. So the first one, the positive 5, is the one that's going up. The negative 5 is the one that's going down. It makes sense, right? Because if it's going up, the ends of this function are pointing up. If it's going down, the ends of this function, or if it's negative, it's going to go down, and the ends of the function are pointing to the lower numbers. Okay, so on this one, it says order the function from narrowest to widest. These two, neither was more or less narrow. They were exactly the same. They were just reflected. So this one for number 2, the answer would be same. Go ahead and try 3 and 4 with a partner. Teachers, go ahead and give them a little bit more time for these ones because there are 3 functions. I would say a full 5 minutes. Go ahead. Teachers, you should have given the full 5 minutes. 3 and 4 should have been done. Gonna move on to the next part. For this, we're doing the exact same thing, but we're comparing it to the parent function. The parent function is this f of x is equal to x squared. We're gonna compare whatever function the number says, in this case x squared plus 6, to our parent function. You're gonna do the exact same thing in your calculator, compare x squared to whatever function they have. Again, go ahead and try these with partners. There's 4 here, so I would say give them another 5 to 7 minutes. Good. Teachers, you should have given them another 5 to 7 minutes. So the next part, the last thing that I'm gonna go over for this video is the 2 baseballs are dropped, one from a height of 16 and the other from a height of 256 feet. Write the 2 height functions and compare their graphs. Use the graphs to tell when each baseball reaches the ground. Okay, so I know that my y-intercept is what's gonna be changing because the height here is 16 and the height here is 256. Okay, so I start with my graph. I know it's never gonna be a negative height, so I'm not even gonna draw the other coordinate. The first one is dropping from a height of 16, so I'm gonna say 16 is right here. If the baseball is being dropped, it just goes down until it hits, this is 0, this is 16 feet. Here would be time on this axis. Here would be height. Obviously, it's in feet. Now, the other one would have a much higher point because they're being dropped. Here would be 256 feet. Again, it goes all the way until it hits the ground of 0, right here. Same axes, height and time. So now what we want to do is think about the differences between these 2 graphs and the similarities. Go ahead and talk with your partner on that. Again, that will probably take 5 minutes to finish A and B and talk with your partner on it. Then you can go ahead and finish the rest of the worksheet.